You're listening to the Career Jump podcast. Insights, interviews, and success stories to inspire and give you the edge when you make your next career jump. Hosted by your career concierge, Andrew McCaskill.
Hello and welcome back to the Executive Career Jump podcast. I'm your host and career concierge, Andrew McCaskill, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Russ Ayles. How you doing, Russ?
I'm good, Andrew. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very, very good. Now, we're lucky to have Russ today because despite the accent, Russ is actually very much New South Wales in Australia based. So he stayed up late this evening to have this conversation with us. So thanks so much for doing so.
No worries. It's not that far past my bedtime. So.
Not that far past. Okay, well, hopefully we can keep you awake with my chat as we go. But look, really good to have a conversation with you. We've been connected online for a while, and you really strike me as one of the other career coaches that is going out there and doing really important work like this for the right reasons. So thanks for joining us, and tell us a bit more about your background and what you're involved with, Russ. It'd be great.
Yeah, so my background's all recruitment, talent acquisition, a bit of HR as well. So started off like a lot of internal talent acquisition professionals in agency back in December 2004. So spent about, it must have been 6, 7, 8 years in agency. So always really worked across that fashion, retail, head office space, a bit of store as well. And then that naturally kind of progressed into that digital space as well as that market kind of grew. Then in-house, I've worked for Mothercare, I've worked for House of Fraser, and then after House of Fraser, started to do a bit of contracting because, as you said, I've moved to Sydney in Australia. But I guess at that time, I knew we were moving. I wanted to get a bit of contracting experience. You know, the money was good, to be quite honest with you, and also I thought it'd be really great to get 3 months here, 6 months there, get more exposure to different businesses before I made the move here. So I started off contracting with ASOS on a 3-month contract, ended up being there for I think almost a year and a half. Done a bit of hospitality, we broadly travel, did some digital roles with Immediate Media, which is a little bit of an offshoot of the BBC. They house a lot of BBC brands like sort of Top Gear magazine and Top Gear Online, Match of the Day, BBC Good Food, those sort of things. And then moved over here to Sydney. So settled in here. I've got a job with General Pants. Now, if you don't know General Pants, which I didn't know that much about General Pants before I moved over here, but they're a very kind of iconic retail fashion brand here. So it's all kind of streetwear, sort of Vans, Adidas, Nike, Stussy, those, really cool brands. It's a bit of a kind of rite of passage over here. So as soon as you get to a teenager who's got their own money, you go to General Pants. That's where you get your weekend gear from. So yeah, worked for General Pants as HR manager for their head office. That was talent acquisition and HR as well. I was there for about 5 or 6 months, and I was a victim, like a lot of people, of the pandemic. So I lost my job, and the business I do now is something that's been on my radar for a long, long time. So I'm obviously a kind of job search coach, and I know we spoke previously about what does coach mean. I don't know what coach means, but coach means. But you know what? I help people in their job search. So what I do is I help people represent themselves the best way on their CV, or within their LinkedIn profile. I give my insights from being in that talent acquisition world. So what are recruiters looking for? How are you going to get found in recruiter searches? How do you approach the interview? How do you approach your job search? Because I don't think there's many people out there that really, I guess, care for that job seekers specifically. Agencies will help some, in-house recruitment teams really haven't got the capacity to help everyone. So yeah, I like to think I just really help people in their job search, however you want to classify that, you can.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And what kind of common challenges do you find that people have when they're out job searching?
The biggest one is probably confidence. I think people just lack confidence in their job search. They don't know where to best focus their energy. I think people are just very frustrated at the moment because, and I've been there as a job seeker, don't get me wrong, you apply for jobs and you're reading that job description and it looks ideal for you. You're sending your CV out and you just don't hear anything. It's like you're just dropping it down a black hole or down a well somewhere. You never hear back. There's lots of frustration out there. So for me, it's all about, all you can do as a job seeker is get all your ducks lined up in a row. You can make the best version of your CV that you possibly can. You can understand how you're going to tailor that CV to different positions, what you're looking out for in that job advert. Are you doing that research into the company, looking at their values? Can you try and incorporate those values and their ethos into that CV as well? Because you can. The same with a cover letter. People think cover letters are dead. Yeah, bad cover letters are dead because they always start, "Dear sir, to whom it may concern." I would like to apply for this role because I've got this. It's not boring. You're not going to read it. As a recruiter, I never read them because they were just so boring. But get the opportunity. If you get the opportunity to do a good one, then you just do it, because it could be that thing that just tips it over the edge to get you, to get an interview. Just, helping people understand what recruiters want to see on a LinkedIn profile. First of all, very nice looking LinkedIn profile that gives a good level of information, a good level of personality as well that you can't necessarily portray on a CV, but also understanding how recruiters are searching. So if you're looking for a buyer for menswear, or you're looking for a digital marketing manager, what are those keywords they're going to search for? Do you understand what your keywords are? Do you understand where these keywords are going to pop up in your profile, and which ones hold more weight in which places? Even simple things like job titles are so important. You might just put account manager, but that can mean anything. Be a bit more specific, or you're not going to get picked up. Is the most searchable area. So helping people understand that, and then just that, like I said, that general strategy, and then getting into the interview. The best way to prepare for interviews. What are the common questions that are going to come up? Again, looking at the company, looking at their values, because any good company is always going to have questions aligned to their values. So how are you going to try and get that across? Because one of the hardest things in my experience recruiting, one of the hardest things to try and ascertain is, technical skills are quite easy to actually ascertain if somebody's got them. You can find those out, but are they going to be a good value and culture fit? That's always the hardest thing. But if you can try and, as a recruiter, if you can try and quantify that in an interview by asking the right questions, but as somebody who's interviewing, if you understand what their values and culture are, you're going to be so much more successful. So yeah, a lot of talking just there, but that's kind of what I try and help people with.
No, it's fantastic. And the focus on culture fit has become more and more prevalent, hasn't it, over the last 10 years? I mean, you pretty much wouldn't be in the interview room if they didn't think you could do the job technically. And so the majority of the interview, I'm finding, will tend to be more behavioral, culture fit type style investigation, values, like you said. And yet most candidates spend most of their time preparing for the technical side and not putting the time into the cultural side, right? So really, really good, really good point there. So you've obviously seen this from a 360 point of view, having worked agency in-house and now on the side of the candidate, helping them take themselves to market in a better way. One thing that I get asked about a lot, and I'm sure you do too, is the best way for candidates to reach out to talent acquisition people, headhunters, hiring leaders, etc. What's your take on that? What kind of advice would you give to people who are looking to be proactive and reach out to people in their industry?
Do you know what? First of all, it's like a lot of things in life. Just do it. Just overcome that barrier and do it. Because do you know what? A simple message is better than no message. Don't overthink it. I've had plenty of circumstances, and I can think of 2 or 3, even just when I was back at General Pants, which was earlier 2021 now, earlier last year, where I've gone through a short list of candidates and I've thought, that name sticks out. Why is that? Oh yeah, they sent me a message. And all they sent was, oh, hi Russell, just wanted to say hi because I've applied for the buying assistant job, or I've applied for the senior buyer job, blah, blah. That's fine. That still gets you noticed. But if you're going to do that, I think it's really important, especially if you think it's probably going to be on LinkedIn, isn't it? So you're probably going to pop someone a message on LinkedIn because you're more likely to get through that way than finding out their email address and sending them an email to their work address. But regardless, I guess the same thing stands. And you think about, well, how is somebody going to read that LinkedIn message? It's probably going to be on their phone. If not on their phone, it's going to be in the window that pops up on LinkedIn. So it's a very small window. So if you start writing War and Peace and they open up a message and it's just text and text and text, they're not going to read it. So I always say, keep it really short, really, really specific. It's a bit like, for me, writing a cover letter where you want to, if you've applied for a job and you want to let the hiring manager know, or you just want to reach out to the hiring manager, it's about making it specific and making it kind of, hit home with them. Why do you want to work for that company? Why are you going to be the person that's going to be really successful in this role? And just letting them know that, but I guess in the least amount of words as possible. And that's where the skill comes in. So, I do this with some of my clients. I will help them put it together and sort of write it for them as a sort of collaborative thing, or I kind of give them sessions to teach them what to look out for, how to kind of not manipulate what they're writing, but understand what they're writing to what a hiring manager is going to want to see. But at the end of the day, people are people. You don't know what's going to interest somebody. What I do know, again, from my experience, is that people don't want big, long messages. People don't want wishy-washy messages. People don't really want, just regurgitations of CVs and experiences and this and that. It's like we said, can you show somebody you're a culture fit or a value fit? Because that's what they're going to want to understand. But do you know what? If you don't know what you're doing, just do anything, because something is better than nothing. But if you can do it really well, then that will really help you.
So done is better than perfect. Principle number one by the sounds of
like
it.
anything, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
done is, or just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. That's your first barrier.
And the other key takeaway there, I think, is short but tailored. So keep it short comms, but try and tailor it to culture, values, etc. The more you can refer to that. It's really interesting that you were recognizing names and positively recognizing names of people that are taking the time to write you a note. That's really good to hear. So yeah, very, very good. The retail area in particular is an interesting market back in the UK at the moment, as I'm sure you've heard. A lot of people in retail are actually looking at how they can take their skill set and take those transferable skills into other sectors. Russ, what's your thoughts on that? Which kind of sectors do you think are good for them to be thinking about? And, what kind of advice would you give those people knowing that sector as well as you do?
Yeah, so I guess, well, firstly, it's a really broad sector, because if you're talking about retail, you're talking, for me anyway, when I think of retail, you're talking anything from a sales assistant in Boots on the weekend to, a head of digital marketing for a retailer. There's obviously some industries some positions that are easily, those skills are going to be more transferred easily to other kind of industries. So, things like kind of, if you work in finance and retail, you can work in finance in most other commercial kind of businesses. But I think the difficult ones are going to be those very kind of specific and technical roles that are just for retail, like your fashion designers, your buyers, your merchandisers to an extent. So, that is a difficult one, but everyone has got transferable skills. It's just about identifying what they are. And I got a little bit of grief for saying this, but do you know what? This is probably the worst time to try and change careers. It is the worst time to try and change careers, because yes, you can, of course you can change careers or, take a sort of side step, but you've got to appreciate there's going to be lots and lots of people that have actually got these skill sets within this other industry that are out of work, looking for work as well. And knowing recruitment like I do, it's about trying to find the kind of round peg for the round hole. If you can find people that tick all the boxes, you're going to go for them rather than take a risk on somebody who hasn't. I'm sorry, it's just the fact. So that's not to sort of dishearten anyone, because there are definitely transferable skills, but I think you need to be kind of, at this period in time, if you're if you're kind of, if you just need to get a job, you're better off trying to stay within what you want and have a plan, work towards that plan. Is there any courses you can do? Or, are there any sort of trying to understand what those transferable skills are? But yeah, for some areas of retail, it's probably a lot easier. For others, a lot harder. But again, it's not impossible. It's just about trying to, like I said, understand what are my transferable skills, what industries can they translate into, and there will be some.
Yeah, absolutely there will be some. And definitely the digital side. I mean, over the last week or so, it's been announced that Boohoo have bought Debenhams' website.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Right. So they've got no interest in the bricks and mortar. They've gone straight for the e-commerce play and bought the website, which is just fascinating. I mean, the world's changing when Boohoo is buying Debenhams' website, right? It's incredible. So I think the more, the retail guys and girls here who don't have as many vacancies to go out as they did previously can be thinking about digitalizing and taking that retail skill into a customer experience, CX, online capacity, I think is probably a good move. And also the other thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with so many, like I said, even in those technical areas, I've worked with so many buyers and merchandisers that really, they're really trying to get out that digital and online aspect out their CVs to try and really showcase that, because they know the future of this industry is going to be more digitalized and more online.
For sure.
More so than it is now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're Zoom calling to deliver a podcast via YouTube and Apple right now. Like it's incredible, isn't it? So no, some really good, some good and pragmatic steer there. I think.
My approach, Andrew, is always, it's no nonsense. I don't want to give people false hope. Yeah, of course you can transfer your skills. Of course you can. And there's going to be loads of people that see value in your experience. But, it's a bit like, just trying to keep it simple. If I work in talent acquisition, my background is all retail. I think, do you know what? Retail is dying a little bit. I need to get some different experience. And I want to join a tech company. Yeah, I've got loads of transferable skills for that tech company, but they're going to want somebody who really gets tech, who's got that experience in tech, especially the sort of level I'd perhaps want to operate in. So I wouldn't expect to get that talent acquisition manager or talent acquisition lead role in tech, because it's a very kind of specific industry. I'll be thinking, right, what industries are more akin? Is it FMCG? Is it this or that? So it's about kind of managing your own expectations and thinking, okay, I might not be able to get exactly there, but where can I sidestep? What can I do, kind of in this next role to get me to where I want to be, where I, perhaps perceive that industry or that future to be, more future-proofed or even more exciting, whatever. So it's going to be difficult, but it's very doable.
Yeah, it's a really good point about the kind of middle step. I think there often is like a bridging role. Where, so, for example, if you're in retail, you could go and work for a retail SaaS company. So a company that does technology into retail, who would see the value in your retail experience, and then that would be able to kick you on into whatever you wanted to do. If it was more fitness-based tech or whatever it might be, but it's finding that bridge, isn't it, to get you through?
Yeah, definitely. I did exactly the same thing when I came here because from my very, I was looking at the job market and retail isn't as big over here. As in, what I mean by that is the retailers aren't as big. So you look at a retail head office here and it's not, for example, when I worked at ASOS, just the head office in Camden was over 3,000 people. It's probably 4,000 people now. When I worked at General Pounds, the head office was 110. Now, okay, I'm not comparing apples to apples, but over here, you don't get massive, in not many companies, you get massive talent acquisition teams like you do in the UK retailers. So you don't get a head of talent and a talent acquisition manager for retail, for head office, and then your advisors. A lot of roles were very mixed. So, you do talent and HR or HR and L&D. So my thought was, I need to get some HR experience in my role because there's little opportunity for just very, specific talent acquisition specialists. So I took the role at General Pounds because I know retail, I know online retail, I know talent acquisition. I was missing the HR piece, but I'd always worked very closely with HR teams. So I got it, but I am not an HR professional in terms of, employment law and all stuff like that. So for me, that was that sidestep. I didn't quite have that, but they were really interested in my background because it was all retail, well-known retailers, the talent acquisition piece, which was, important for them. So yeah, it's about finding that, the next step. Okay, you've got 8 out of 10 boxes for that. Then you gain these extra boxes, and then your next move, you can do that again to sort of pivot yourself to where you want to go.
Very good steer. Very good steer indeed.
Hey, everybody. It's Andrew here. Just wanted to very briefly interrupt this podcast episode to tell you a little bit more about our Career Jump Club. So our Career Jump Club was created to help job seekers understand what they want and how to get it, right? So becoming a club member is a great move if you're looking to get the clarity and confidence in order to secure your next role. With the membership, you get a number of different things. So first thing you get is access to our online platform, which has over 30 videos, 40, 50 different templates, workbooks, and it takes you through everything from sort of understanding what you want to how to position your CV and LinkedIn, how to interview, how to close offers and negotiate better salaries, a full end-to-end job search course effectively for senior leaders. So you get that, you get a fortnightly group coaching call, which is with me and with the other members, where we bounce around best practice, share slide decks, share techniques, and share the latest data on what's working for people. And you get to, most importantly, become part of our closed LinkedIn group and our closed community. And in there is where the magic often happens, because you get people referring each other into opportunity, supporting each other, and just sharing. And that's what it's all about. So if you're financially able and you'd like to invest in your job search, head on over to www.careerjump.com, all one word, /club, and you'll find the landing page and come and give it a go. We'll see you in there. Anyway, back to the pod.
We touched on interviews earlier, but let's go a little bit deeper into that. People hate them, don't they?
Yeah. Well, you said it actually. Do you know what? I get so many clients that just say, do you know what? I just need help with my CV, because I know when I get an interview, I always get them. I get so many people that are confident in interviews.
There you go.
They actually come, but I've had a few that come to me for interview coaching, and I do a few kind of role plays with them, talk to you a few things, and you kind of help them understand they're maybe not as great as they think they are. Don't get me wrong, confidence is great, but yeah, interviews are difficult because you just never know what to expect to an extent.
Yeah, and it's that feeling of being assessed that it just brings out funny behavior in people. People that are normally quite calm, pragmatic, engaging can find themselves waffling or worrying about waffling and then not saying anything and just completely overthinking it. So, and what kind of tips would you give to people who are interviewing this week, what kind of things should they be thinking about before they go in? We've talked about tailoring to values and culture, I think was awesome. But what else in terms of their actual interview performance do you think people should be thinking about?
Do you know what? It's exactly the same as podcasts. I'm probably doing a lot of waffling now and talking and saying a lot of things that I wouldn't in a normal situation because it's a high pressure situation for me. It's not something I'm used to.
No, you did a great job, by the way. That's not the case.
But it's exactly the same as interviewing. It's not a very natural situation, is it? Meeting a stranger and then having to talk about, answer all of their questions and having to talk about yourself, but you don't know what you're going to have to talk about, really. You can have a guess. So yeah, it's such a high pressured situation. And also for people at this moment in time, excuse me, people that are maybe out of a job or been out of a job for a while, there's lots of people out there that are thinking, I need to get this job or I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage next month. There are people out there like that. So imagine that pressure coming down on yourself. It's, I really feel for people going to interviews in those situations. But look, generally speaking, yeah, do you know what? We've already mentioned it, but you can look at the values and culture piece because the questions are going to revolve around that. And if you can, understand those and do it. But for me, just doing your research, put in, if you've got an hour interview, put in 2, 3, 4 hours of research. And do you know what? It's not about, I've heard it before, it's not about saying, oh yeah, I know House of Fraser has, 54 stores in the UK. People don't want to hear that. But do you know what it does is it gives you confidence because it helps you focus. You just concentrate on right, I'm going to look at their website. I'm going to look at their social media feeds. How do they engage with their customers? I'm going to look at their product. Just get yourself very familiar with the company. Look at the people that are interviewing you. Look at their backgrounds. Are there any little things in common you can see, or any things that could come up in an interview? But I think really what you need to do is think there's going to be certain questions that are likely to come up. If it's a leadership role, there's going to be questions around your leadership skills, of course. So try and think about some really, really good positive examples you've got of coaching and mentoring people, or people that have gone on to like bigger and better and brilliant things. Real success stories you can talk about. But do you know what? The one thing for me that I look for, or did look for when I was interviewing, is honesty, integrity, and self-awareness. Because do you know what? You're not going to be the best at everything. And I would never believe somebody who said they were the best at everything. I want to hear about your mistakes, but I want to hear about what you did in that situation and how you carried that, that learn into the next, situation that you had. So for me, is very much about that kind of integrity and honesty, and just, yeah, self-awareness is so important. But look, interviewing is difficult because I think as an interviewer, the important thing to do is be able to see through underconfidence and overconfidence, because you'll get people that will come in and not perform so well in a job, but they're brilliant. They're so good at interviewing. You interview them, they're so charismatic, and you're like, you look at the hiring manager, you're like, oh, this guy's great, or this girl's great, and they're really good, aren't they? But they're just really good at interviewing, and vice versa. You'll get people that come in that would potentially have done a fantastic job in that role, but they're just so, that they've not got the confidence and not, maybe as charismatic in the interview. So I think as an interview, it's really important to just understand what is it exactly we're looking for. How can we help relax a candidate to get the best out of them in the interview situation? It's not about bombarding them with questions. Let's relax them. Let's try and help them, get their personality out, so they can relax and answer the questions in the best possible way. So yeah, probably a few bits of advice. I'm not sure. Again,
no, plenty of good stuff in there, mate. Plenty of good stuff in there. Going off in a different direction then, I think there's plenty of value there in reaching out. And once you have reached out, your interview and everything, I think that's excellent. You, like many people at the moment, have decided to take the leap to do your own thing over the last 12 months. We're seeing a big surge in this, both domestically in the UK, but also globally. Some people are saying, well, I can't find the work that I want, so I'm going to go and create it. Others are going, well, I've always wanted to do this thing, and all this, time at home during the pandemic has given me a lot of time to think about what I really want and what my purpose and my mission is. And so I'm going to go and set my own business. What's your journey been like? And what do you see as the pros and cons of going it alone as a career choice? I'd be fascinated to hear your insights in terms of your own journey.
That's a great question. That's a really good question. Yeah, look, like I said before, it's something that I'd always wanted to do, and it's something that not was forced upon me with what happened sort of back in March last year, but it's something that I thought, you know what, sometimes you need an unfortunate situation to push yourself into doing something. So yeah, there will be a lot of people doing this at the moment. It's extremely difficult because it's very raw. It's you. This business is you, especially if you're doing something like what I'm doing. I've not got big teams behind me. It's me. It's just me. It might change in the future. So even when you're kind of marketing yourself, you're working with people, or even posting things on LinkedIn, it's very personal. So you've got to try and take that element of that fear away. I think the sort of fear stopping you from kind of putting yourself out there is hard, but there's so many positives. I wouldn't change it now. I actually wouldn't change it at all, because I love the flexibility it gives me. I've got so much passion about what I do. I've got so much purpose now about what I do. I enjoy it. Yeah, there's stressful times, of course there are, but you know what? They're my stressful times. I'm not stressing about, something to do with my manager or someone in my team or this or that. It's kind of, I quite like that I'm kind of in control of my own stress, and I see this stress as positive. And, I've got so many ideas, so many things I want to do. So I think there's this kind of preconception, and I think with most people, probably, especially people our sort of age, I think, and probably people a little bit older, maybe not so much the younger generation, because I think there's that kind of freelance contractor sort of vibe in the younger generation. But I think we're always taught to kind of, you've got to go and have this 9 to 5 job, get yourself into a company, work your way up the ladder, work your way up in this sort of industry. But I think what this pandemic has maybe helped is open the door to just different things, remote working, being able to, do more contracting, more freelancing, and just people evaluating what is it that I actually enjoy doing? What is my purpose? What do I love to do? And don't get me wrong, it's very difficult when you're used to your 70, 80, 90, whatever your salary is, you're used to that, to then suddenly go, I want to follow my dream of, of training horses. I don't know, whatever it is you're passionate about, because you're not going to be making that sort of money until you then sort of become that expert in the area. But I do think there's definitely something said to, something to be said for, it's not all about climbing that corporate ladder. For some people, it's not always about earning as much money as you can. It's actually about enjoying what you do, having the flexibility in your day to go and enjoy what you do. But you need to balance out, obviously, with earning what you need to earn. So I would encourage people to do it, but I'd encourage people to really think about it and understand what they feel it is they can, I guess what they have to offer, and be really clear on that message. You don't have to know it straight away. You need to know roughly what it is you need to do, but it could take 6 months to a year to really refine that message. I'm still refining what I do, but it's always been the same sort of thing. I'm just refining what I offer.
Yeah, same. I think that's an ongoing iterative process that continues as you go. Yeah, great advice there. I just think being a founder has become very fashionable. And I just think it's important.
Some people just like to put founder or CEO on their
right.
LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, indeed. Whereas I think it's important to give, a balanced view of the pros and cons. And I think you did that really nicely there. But there's no going back for you, you don't think? You think this will be you?
There really isn't, because my issue is that if I tell myself in my head there's going back or there's that safety net, it doesn't push me to do what I need to do to succeed in what I want to do. I almost need to give myself the fear of, no, do you know what? You're not doing that again. You're doing this, and you've got to be focused 100% on what you're doing, not having your eye on, oh, well, I'll give it a go for a few more months. If it doesn't work out, I'll go back into a talent acquisition job or an HR job. So no, I've made my decision to say, this is what I want to do. I'm very focused on what I want, what I need to do to make it successful. But I've made so many mistakes. I've done some good things, but I've made so many mistakes. And it's, to be honest, learn off other people that are doing what you want to do. And I'm not just saying this because you're on, because I'm your guest on the podcast. But I look at what people like yourself are doing, and I think that's good. I want to do something like that. How can I make it mine? How can I make it that? How can I put my twist on it? How can I make it relevant to the people that I help? So it's not about copying people. It's about kind of respecting and appreciating what other people are doing and thinking, you know what, that's brilliant. What can I do that's brilliant like that? So it's about getting inspiration from people.
Yeah, I agree. I'm working exactly the same way. So if one of your clients lands at a major retailer and comes and dangles big 6-figure salary with a really good benefits package and a nice comprehensive financial offer with your healthcare and your super and all of that, do you think you'll hold up? Do you think you won't take the offer if it's dangled in front of you?
I know I won't. No.
Oh, fair play. I love that.
No,
because that will happen at some point. That will happen at some point, right?
I just, once I'm probably going to regret to say this, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. But I've always had the feeling I'm not someone who necessarily conforms. I'm not someone who conforms to, it's kind of working in those two, overly structured environments. I'm really not. I'm quite creative. I like creative ideas, and I like being able to think of something and just going off and trying to do it. Even if I'm wrong, I don't care. I want to try and do it. Maybe it's not the best thing all the time, and it just kind of stifles that sometimes. I think working in kind of organisations, but this is me, and this is personal to me. If someone came to me as a client and said the same thing, I wouldn't write their CV for them. I'd be talking to them about, is this really what you want to be doing? What I want out of my life and my job is not what everyone wants, which is fine. You know, some person wants that corporate job, which there's, you know, which is brilliant for some people. But like I said before, I just think people need to kind of sometimes evaluate and think, what's important to me? Is that definitely what I want? If it is, brilliant. I'll help you get there.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And I think having the self-awareness to know when you're unemployable has been a really important learning for me as well. And I can see, you know, I identify with a lot of what you've just said. So to anybody else out there that's kind of going through those thought processes, you kind of know when you're unemployable in your heart, I think, and you should.
Yeah, I think I've known for the last few jobs.
Yeah,
I've kind of felt it.
Yeah. I think you do. So fantastic openness. Thank you for that, Russ.
Okay.
So a couple of quick things. I'm a big quote fan, which is totally cheesy, but there you go. That's who I am. There's nothing I can do about that. Have you got any quotes that you particularly like or that have helped you or you refer back to? Is there anything that springs to mind?
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a very simple one, but it's something I learned at House of Fraser. And my head of talent acquisition there, I'll give her a shout out actually. Her name was she's still around. Samantha Ramsey. I think she's at where's she now? Balfour Beatty, I think. But her kind of motto was always leave a candidate in a better place than where you kind of found them. As in,
Fantastic.
You know, but you can only do this once they've been through the process. Like, you obviously can't, you know, for everyone that applies, don't get it wrong, always get back to them, the automated email, look, thank you, but no thank you. I know some people think it needs to be more than an automated email, but that's just impossible at this moment in time. Talent acquisition teams can't get back to everyone individually. But if somebody's in that process, whether it's telephone interview, face-to-face interview, whatever, don't just give them feedback in terms of, you know, you weren't right for us because of this, or you didn't have this experience. Try and give them something valuable they can take into that next, you know, interview or next opportunity. You know, sort of say, look, you came across really well like this and this and this, but not so much like this. You know, try and give them some kind of positive, proactive advice, something tangible they can kind of take away and work on. Now, don't get me wrong, did I do this all the time? Of course I didn't. I don't want people sitting there, or ex-candidates from 10 years ago going, oh, I remember that time Russell didn't get back to me about a job. Look, I'm not perfect. I'm absolutely not perfect. All I'm saying is that this would be best practice. And I think it's a really good kind of motto to have. If you can just leave that candidate better off than where you found them. And do you know what? I can't remember the study now, but I remember Virgin Media looked into this a lot in terms of their candidate experience, and they found out their lack of candidate experience was actually costing them sort of £3 or £4 million in lost subscriptions. And they kind of put a business case together and turned this around into actually making the business $1 million or $2 million. Now, I'm not doing that story justice. I first heard it at RecFest probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So if anyone's listening to this, just Google Virgin Media employee branding, or candidate experience case study. You'll find it on Google, and it's really, really interesting how they kind of identified this massive loss and turned it into, you know, not only a positive candidate experience, but it actually made the business money. You know, it impacted that bottom line for them. So, you know, you can't argue with that, can you?
That's the irony, isn't it? Doing things right tends to deliver the longer term commercial benefit anyway. I mean, it's short termism that causes all the issues, but leaving people better than you found them, I think, is a tremendous way to wrap up the podcast. And it's a lovely quote and note to finish on. Where can people find you, Russell? What's the best way, if somebody's listening this and they're thinking that they could do with your help, what's the best way to get in contact?
The best way is really through LinkedIn. It's where I spend a lot of my time. As you all know, Andrew, you know, you spend a lot of time there.
I do, yeah.
Such a great platform. So yeah, just, you know, Russell Ayles, search me on LinkedIn. My, you know, sort of, what they call it? Not URL. What's your specific LinkedIn handle? But it's Job Search Coaching anyway, if you want to search via that. But,
and it's Russ Ayles, AYLES. And you've got a website as well?
Yeah, well, look, it's www.bothsidesofthedesk.com. So that's both sides of the desk, obviously. And that's all based on look, what I bring to it is I've been on both sides of the desk. I've been the job seeker, I've been the HR manager, I've been the talent acquisition manager, I've been the recruitment consultant. But I'm actually in the process of not necessarily a rebrand, but I'm creating a new website and a bit of new branding. So yeah, that might not be around for a while, but I can't really, not that I can't say much about it yet. It's not like it's a big secret. I'm just not sure what it's going to be. But
So
regardless, you
LinkedIn best
can always
port.
go there, and it will take you to where you need to be if somebody's listening, to this in like a month or two's time. But yeah, LinkedIn's always the best place. Just look, come and connect with me. I want to connect with people. I put out a lot of free advice, like exactly like you do, Andrew. I put out a lot of free advice for job seekers out there, whether that's videos or whatever it is, just your standard sort of text on LinkedIn. Yeah, just connect with me on LinkedIn is the best way to get me.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, anybody listening, please make sure you do that. Make sure you're following Russell. He does put out a lot of good stuff. And we're in a job search coaching space that's become very busy over the last 12 months or so. And as I said at the start, you really stand out as somebody who's doing it for the right reasons and has that layer of care around what they're doing. So highly recommend that you connect and follow Russell. And just thanks again for freeing up the time today. It was good to talk.
No, look, thank you so much for asking me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right. Keep well. We'll speak soon.
You've been listening to the Career Jump podcast with Andrew McCaskill. For more resources and information, just head over to the Career Jump website at www.execcareerjump.com to supercharge your job search and start making moves. Let's get to work.